Hi, boys and girls.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, huh? What? What's happening?
Greetings, fellow
Oh no!
streamers.
Oh no! My mic's still working, for God's sake.
I can hear
Yes.
you. You hear me?
Well, that would help. Yeah, I can hear you. Everybody's good. Yeah, everybody's happy. Yeah. So, oh my God, we're looking at this now. It's J Dyer, Jimbob, and JG. You know, of course, when you go after J Dyer, their god, the high priest, you get that flack. Well, Jimbob did a 3-hour thing. Which is good, and we have 11 views between me and you, Dave, on our last stream, which is pretty good. So apparently, people are interested in this conversation.
It was still going too. So
yeah,
whether you agree with either side, both sides seem to have a lot of views. So there was a lot of interest in it.
Yeah. So JG is a pretty nice guy, and he's actually a really decent person, and you can talk to him, but you can't reason with him because he's so stuck in his beliefs. And it was really interesting. I went in last night, and I think I tried for an hour again to get through to him so that he could see my point of view. And he kept saying, "Oh yeah, I'm coming at it from just the physicalist point of view." But then he started talking about. He'd bring in pointing to, which is referring to, which means you're not strictly physical. Calling a thing. He brought in language, definition of a thing, identity, and then they started on lack of accountability, justification. Claim they know things, using things. All of these things are things that humans do with things, right? So they keep wanting to bring the human realm in when I'm trying to just get them to get the human realm out of their head and just think of what physical means. But then when they do that, Jimbob, who is just a total dimwit, comes up with matter can't use physical laws to account for matter because that would be circular. So basically he's saying the universe can't have physical laws because the universe needs physical laws to make the universe what it is. What do you think? Unpack that a little bit.
Well, I think he's what do they call it? Reification. Guilty of a bit of that because laws are descriptive. They don't determine things. What he might be saying is there's nothing. Physical things can't make the universe work together and relate together in the kinds of patterns that we see, that we can predict and that we can measure and that we can abstract into either descriptions of laws, which are equations, or the kind of narrative we do, which are scientific explanations.
Yeah, there's something else that he's doing that's even more interesting. He's kind of defining matter as this gray blobby substance, that can't do anything, right? So he's got blobs of matter, right? And then he's got laws that tell the matter what to do. Okay. And that's his concept of physicalism. And I think so that is one of the main problems that they have getting their mind around physicalism, is that they can't help but think that physical stuff is like the blobs of stuff that are laying around in our lives, right? The objects and things. Shoveling dirt, right? Matter is just dirt. And that's why they can't understand evolution, because they think matter is this stuff that just lays around and it's got to have some guiding force in order to get it to do something. So,
and I just want to point out, this is the same thing Frank Turek and Ken Ham say, that if we're just molecules in motion, then you can't trust anything you think and everything. And it's like, no, it's because those molecules are in a certain pattern, as you will, that the brain works. So it's dismissing how fantastic our brain actually is in favor of, no, it has to be supernatural.
Yeah, like there again, what they've done is, we are this organism right over here. So this is us, okay, and we have all these objects in the world, tables and chairs and things like that. It's a bad table, but and we do things to them. Okay, we can manipulate them. So that's the first thing, we can manipulate them, and we can name them. So we can name them with language. So that's language. And we can point at them. We can refer to them, right? So we can point at them. So these are the things we can do with objects. And they keep confusing that with laws. That God is doing the same thing that we do, that God is taking these laws and he's organizing matter to do certain things. Like they don't believe that God could, like a lot of theists do believe, that God just created the universe as it is, with the laws and everything as part of the universe, and then he let the universe roll and evolution happened. So these are Christians that believe in evolution, or theists that believe in evolution. They understand that matter isn't just blobs that some human has to do something with. They understand that God could have created a universe that could do everything all by itself, a universe with more talents than just laying around like a blob of clay. And they can't get it out of their heads that matter, it isn't just matter. It's not just matter. It's mind-numbing.
And I will grant what you said for the sake of the argument. It's like, okay, your God made everything, and then it goes as it is. And that's the argument of, what if we're a brain in a vat? What if God made the universe? What if God didn't make the universe? It doesn't seem to matter, because we have to follow the physical laws that we have to deal with. And there doesn't seem to be any exceptions, except for Bible stories.
Yeah. They're always laughing their ass off when you say, well, why? They ask, why is the universe the way it is? And I say, it just is. The laws of the universe are just that. There's a quantum field, and things behave the way they behave. Basically, because the universe just is. Reality just is. It's where we find ourselves. So we find ourselves in the middle of this reality. So then I tried to get them to admit, or I asked them, okay, why did God make the world the way it is? But I want you to listen to this. I think I got it queued up properly. If I could find my mouse on all these monitors and windows, that would be good. Would that be great? Be great. Oh, okay. So I went on and I talked to somebody named St. Tommy, and we had a conversation. And what if I have it queued up properly? Where's that window? No. Let's see. All there is. Everything else is derived from that. If you wanted to know what truth is for a human being, then we could start way back, and we could start talking about how that works for an organism. But what I want to know is about God and how. Okay, so what do you think? I mean, what is your view on God and the universe, and why the universe is the way it is? Why is it the way it is? But
You
from your
talking to
belief,
me or JD?
I'm talking to you.
Oh,
JG's
good,
just
good.
moderating.
Well, you come to the right place. I myself I'm an ambassador of God. I mean the Lord Jesus Christ. I mean God. I mean the Lord. Same thing. I am
Okay.
an ambassador of the Lord Jesus Christ, and I'd be happy to share with you what I believe the universe is the way it is, including yourself, because God wanted it that way.
There you go.
That's my
Okay,
current understanding.
so God wanted it that way. Okay. How is that different than just is? So now another way to phrase that God wanted it that way, is God did it that way. God did it. So just is or God did are equivalent philosophically, and he admitted it. So when they come after us and say, "Oh, you can't say it just is, you have to explain why it is," we can point to them and say, "Well, why did God do it that way? Why did God did it like that?" The difference, you can see the difference, which is really cool. They want to say that something like them did it matter because they don't believe that the physical universe can do things by itself. It has to have a human to do something to it, which is a really, really primitive way of looking at physics. And they can't get it out of their heads. God did it that way just because God did it that way. So God did it is the same as just is. And they gotta come. They could be honest about that and say, "Oh yeah, but I have faith there is a God. I have another reason. I have a personal connection with God, and I believe in God anyway." But they won't. They won't. Most Christians will not admit that the universe just is that way because God decided, "Oh, I'll do it that way."
Well, the difference is a mechanism, and that's what you were asking, I think, JG for, was, okay, if God did it, but what is the mechanism of how? And it seems like even if you're going to say God did it, the mechanism is still what science explains about the physical world. We're back to it's a physical explanation, even if God did it.
Yeah. They want to ask.
So, once again, adding God doesn't seem to add anything to it. It's just unnecessary.
Yeah. And you can see that they've got a particular human view of doing things because, we got these, we got this organism, right? That, oh my God, I put the smiley face in the wrong place. What the hell am I doing? Oh my God. I wouldn't have passed a cognitive test with the doctor if I'd drawn the hands on the clock wrong.
We have a message from the great beyond.
Where's the beyond?
It's on the screen. You might want to look at it.
Oh, are you kidding, Danny? It's short. It's uploaded to my channels. Can you give us a link, Danny? Oh, Danny doesn't have a wrench. Oh, poor Danny. I got to give Danny a wrench.
I'll go get a link.
Huh? We'll give Danny a wrench. Oh, let's see. Remove him as standard. Wait a minute. No, okay, it's somebody else.
How come Jimbob isn't blocked? Oh, that's right. Jimbob just blocks us.
Yeah, that's right.
And then he says, cowards. It's like cowards. Who's blocking everybody, Jimbob? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Danny's already a moderator, so I thought, I was looking at the wrong screen.
Is he on your block list or your ban list or whatever, or did you remove all those?
No, he managed to. Yeah, I removed the main one, I think. So anyway, I decided Danny's a human being again, and I'm gonna let him hang out. Okay, so there's a link to Danny's video on. Oh my God, that should be fun. That should be tremendous. Let's see here.
You have all my accounts blocked, Jimbob.
Yeah.
or your mods do. Either way, we're blocked. So, yeah.
You didn't tell me Jimbob was here.
Jimbob's in the chat.
He's in the chat. Oh.
Jimbob's in the chat. Yeah, I'm blocked. I'm blocked. My comments aren't there. So, whatever.
Oh.
And Johnny checked for me independently. They weren't there, so.
What the heck? Oh, Danny versus King.
Yes.
Oh my God. Oh, that's got to be great. We got to see that shit.
Danny,
Okay.
if you're still there, was that the first time you've talked to Kent Hovind? You may not be here anymore.
Now you got to wash your mouth out with soap.
Soap and water?
The Hawaiian shirt. The Hawaiian shirt guy is what I say.
Swifter, there needs to be a referent, the law, to describe the referent description. There needs. Fuck.
I try not to cuss on my channel, and I try not to say the H word.
I say fuck all the time. Okay. There needs to be something you refer to the law. Okay, there's something about the universe that we're referring to with the description, and so, but laws. Okay, but when it comes to physicalism, Jimbob, and physicality in physics, laws are just descriptions of something that basically obtains in the universe. So we measure things and we come up with these descriptions of the laws, but there's something underlying that's much deeper and more complex than the laws. Therefore, it's fair to say that the laws are just a description. That's how that works. So anyway, let Jimbob in. Jimbob, we don't do. Jimbob wants. I don't think Jimbob wants to come in. Okay, referent is the behavior for the seventh time, right? The behavior of the universe, and we describe it with what we call laws. But now Christians think that God is a lawgiver. He's an authority. He's like a human, and he makes laws. So Jimbob is confusing the description with the referent. He's at least confusing the structure of the description with what is being referred to. Because when you describe things in physics, you necessarily break them apart and reduce them, and they no longer, they only have a family resemblance for the thing that you're describing. So,
and I see Caterpillar shows up in my chat. Great to see you.
why is this happening? Okay, made by Jimbob. Where's made by Jimbob? Okay.
There's
So
Made by Jimbob.
Here's the part where Jimbob.
Or should I do my impersonation of the Jimbob? I couldn't resist. Jimbob, you do a great Jordan Peterson impersonation, but you do a lousy Captive Disc.
Oh my God! Will you show Jimbob's comment a description? That part, Scott. Now my mouse quit. It is wonky. I have to.
Oh no!
Yeah, I have to double click, and if I double click,
You're talking about the physicalism?
no, a description must also be an effect of a physical law. Holy fuck!
Well, this says under physicalism, any description is also just an effect of a law.
Yeah, okay. And then he says a description must also be an effect of a physical. Yes, Jimbob.
I don't really know that Jimbob has. I can't say it. I just wonder how much actual reading of actual physicalist philosophers he's done.
He hasn't done.
How does he know his statement is true?
He's a poser. Okay, so now when a human points at something, right? He points at something, and here's the something, okay, something that's physical that exists, some sort of phenomena or something, he points at it. And then the other thing a human can do is he can call it a name. So you can call it X. And another thing a human can do is he can come up with a long description of what he thinks is happening. So this is description, right? And Jimbob, I think, is saying that those things under physicalism have to be physical too. Is that correct, Jimbob? Is that what you're saying? Can you focus for a minute, Jimbob? I know it's hard with your audience. Okay. So we have all those things, right? We have something happening in the universe. Okay, phenomena of an oak tree growing from an acorn, right? And then we can point to the oak tree, and then we can consider we can also reason about these things. So we know that oak trees grow through time. So we have something even more complicated. Maybe a bad example. Okay, but we can call it an oak tree. Okay. And then we can describe the oak tree. So there's like three things we can do with it. And that involves a organism, which is a human being with language and all the things that human beings have, doing something. And this whole goddamn thing is physical. So fuck you. Holy fuck. Holy fuck. The whole thing is physical. But what Jimbob likes to do is confuse these things with this thing. He can't get it. He can't get it in his head. That physicalism is not just a bunch of matter laying around. It's just like, oh my God, what is wrong with these people? What are we going to do with them? Okay, pointing to an oak tree would be caused of. Okay, let me see if I can fucking do this. No, I can't.
Well, like I say, and I don't like being pigeonholed or anything. You know, I explore all kinds of things. Okay, I'm into all kinds of otherworldly claims, but they all seem to be the same. That they're just claims, and until somebody can produce something physical or a way to test things that are not physical, there's a lot of claims, and that's all they are as far as I can see. But I am open to things. Everybody knows I'm open to Bigfoot, ghosts, aliens, on down the list. Be really cool. Be really neat. Let's see a ghost. Let's see a Bigfoot or something. I think that would be really great. Jesus, Muhammad, whoever it may be, have them show up and say hi. I think that would be great. It just doesn't seem to happen outside of stories.
Hey, Speed, there is a link and slight description of Danny's talk with Kent Hovind in the private chat. I didn't see anything make it into the description of the YouTube, so you might want to grab that and put it in the description. I will stop talking now.
I can't do anything about it, Scott, right now. I'm going to mute for a minute. You guys handle it for a minute, okay? We got hardware problems again.
Oh, boomer problems.
Sooner or later, it happens to everybody.
Hardware problems.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put the link to Danny's chat with fake
The
Dr.
Hawaiian shirt guy.
And that way people can click on it and put it in their watch later or something, or they can go watch it now. I'm not insecure.
Well, Fiddlesticks is asking, take your diagram, call it X. Where is this physically located? Well, I'm not really understanding.
Yeah. What's the name of the person doing the
Fiddlesticks?
Fiddlesticks? Is that on? Let's see. That would have a paired next to it, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Take your diagram. Call it X. Where is it physically located? Well, do you have a computer screen? It's located in pixels on your screen. It's located in pixels on Speed's screen. It's also located in memory on Speed's computer. I keep calling him Speed, Mike, whatever you want to call him. Also, I can turn away, and it is located physically in particular places in my brain structure. So there are all sorts of locations for it.
Right. Yeah, so now he's going a level above, right, where he wants to say, okay, now we're going to take, at least I think that's what he's doing. If that's what he's doing, come on, dude. Okay, if he wants to take this whole thing, this diagram, and now this is a physical thing, and we got a brain over here, okay, looking at it, naming it, manipulating it, drawing it, whatever. So now he wants to go meta, right? Is that what you're doing, Fiddlesticks? Are you going meta on this? You know what the problem was? The goddamn battery in my mouse was dying. So you had to double click in order to get one click, which is weird. Weird. Isn't that weird?
We have a message from Maya Atkinson. Just wanted to congratulate you on exceeding 700, I think, is what it is.
Oh, yeah, thank you. We did. For 7-Eleven. We were at 7-Eleven this morning. Not the store. I don't know. Do those exist anymore, 7-Eleven?
Oh, yeah, they definitely do.
I haven't seen one in Minnesota for a long time. I think we threw them out of Minnesota.
Well, they come out of, I think, unless they've changed locations in the last 30 years, which they may have, I think they're out of Memphis, and they're definitely a Southern corporation. And they have a lot of places in the South.
So, Jimbob, what are you, a welder or a diamond setter or something? And you're smarter than Swifter, who has like a real job, I think. Well, I shouldn't have said that. That's kind of nasty. Okay. And then they go to this, right? So they can't win talking about just physicalism and laws. So he says, the issue is you have no method for knowledge being possible, dummy. So, so then Jimbob goes, what did he do here? Okay, on my diagram. So Jimbob took all of this part, right, in our brains, and he's saying, oh, we can't explain that. So he wants to go meta on that, and now he has another referent. So they keep moving the goalposts because they're too dumb, and they're too much in a cult, this belief cult that the universe can't be sensible, there can't be reason or knowledge without God, there can't be ethics without God. We need God, man, for everything. It's like over and over again, and they will just. They're like trying to pick up a marble with a fork. They keep sliding around, going to different things. Let's back the fuck up. Is Fiddlesticks respond yet? Because I kind of want to deal with that one. Cause plus effect equals God easy. There we go. Oh my goodness. Okay, Fiddlesticks is not responding.
Once again, no matter how many times you add God to it, I don't see how adding God to it does anything or changes anything.
Well, it just solves all your problems. You just say, it's like
it for me though. It just adds a problem because you're adding something on that you have to explain then, and just saying, well, it's just God, and like you asked JG, what's the mechanism? Well, there's no mechanism, and it. So then what good is it? I say, I'll grant you this being exists outside of our time, space, universe, and dimension. Okay. But it doesn't interact here. I don't see the interaction here.
Yeah. They do the same thing with politics. Like, why is there inflation? Democrats did it. Why is there a war in Ukraine? Democrats did it. It's like everything is, the Democrats did it. It's the same thing. God did it. God did it.
The Illuminati or the Freemasons or the what is it, Skull and Bones, or any of those organizations you go down the list,
Well, in some ways,
the Rothschilds. Oh, I can't forget the Rothschilds. It's the Rothschilds. It's always the Rothschilds.
the behavior was caused by that stuff that came from previous existent stuff, and it behaved in a way that caused the behavior. It's true. Very true. Let's see. Swifter's too dumb to understand the consequences of his position. Sure, Jimbob, you're such a brilliant man. All you can do is make fun of the fact that I have a speech defect for 3 hours.
Yeah, that's really petty, Jimbob. I mean, even some of your viewers that agree with you a lot thinks you're pretty petty with your making fun of folks.
But don't I kind of deserve it, because I make fun of Jimbob's intellectual defect, the fact that he's just like average or below average intelligence, and I make fun of that all the time. So it's fair for him to make fun of my balls being wrinkly, me being bald, or me having a speech defect,
or what sex you're born as, or down the list.
Anyway, I invited that. I always make fun of Jimbob's intellectual deficit, which is pretty obvious to anybody who has read anything at all in philosophy. You got a deficit there. I can't find Jimbob's current quotes. Maybe he can. Maybe he can pick up the.
I think it's hilarious. So.
90. Okay, if you're 98 years old, does your speech defect automatically go? He was making fun of Midnight for stuttering too, which is really a jerk move, because people that stutter really have a tough time, feeling good about themselves sometimes.
Small people with small minds.
Oh, here we go. Okay, here we go. Okay, this is all they got. This is a brilliant fucking argument. Stop crying because you guys don't even have objective ethics. Shut the fuck up. It's like, don't? Why do we have...
want to bring up some Bible ethics, like selling your daughters, owning people, treating women and children as property and chattel. Give me a break. We can go all day with how great the Bible is objectively. Baloney.
Yep.
Don't like your neighbor? Genocide. Yeah, give me a break.
What the hell did I write? Description. Okay. Description. Okay. I messed it up. Yeah. So objective ethics, okay. So there's a way of behaving, right? So this is called a way of behaving. Okay. And that's kind of an abstract thing, right? And we got these human brains here. Why do I keep doing that? We got a whole bunch of them, right? We got like the United States. Everybody in the United States thinks that everybody should have equal rights, right? And so that's our moral or our ethic, right? So how is it not objective if every one of us believe it? I mean, it obviously isn't just something I dreamed up all by myself and I, enacted. I am not the dictator. It's a democracy. So we all did it. So it's subjective. It's between all of us. I don't understand why morality is such a problem for these people. Humans behave morally. It's what we do.
And none of them are unique to any religion. Almost every religion says the same things. Now, they don't usually follow what they say, but they'll say, don't do this, don't do that. But then they find every excuse and loophole they can find at the same time to do those exact things.
Yep.
But this, because I'm a Christian, I know better. Well, no, other religions say, don't kill, don't steal, etc. It's a poor argument. We figured it out. People figured it out around the globe independently wrote their stories a little differently, but if you look in there, oh yeah, here's the same don't do this and don't do that. Oh, what a coinkydink, right?
Yeah, if you got a couple of animals, Jimbob, okay, or a bunch of animals, and they're all the same kind. You guys like that word, right? Kind of animal. So it's a rurbel, a rurbel, rurbel. So these are all rurbels, okay? And all of these rurbels like to give nuts to other rurbels. You know, they're constantly, every time they find a nut, instead of eating it themselves, they give it to the other rurbel. It's the way they behave. It's in their DNA. It's in their developmental parenting, their environment. So it's developmental by environment and all of that. And so that is an objective moral for rurbels. Rurbels are the kinds of things that like to give nuts to each other all the time. Every time we see them gathering nuts, they just bring the nut to the other rurbel. Anyway, so it's objective. So that's objective morality. Okay. And then another form of objective is if all the rurbels get together and they decide we're going to build the hut on the north side or west side of the fence, right? We're going to go west. And they all get together and say, we're always going to build our huts on the west side. So now we have a cultural, objective, moral, oral, and we can make a law. So this is a cultural objective. So that's one step further, right? And then we can have this guy over here decides that he likes to have his outhouse on the south side of the hut, but nobody else agrees with him. So he has a relative or a subjective moral. But you'll notice that most humans, when we get together at Walmart, except for the active shooters, have the same morals, right? You know, then we got these outliers, right? There's always like, okay, this guy could be an outlier. Okay, that's an outlier. He wants to build his outhouse on the south side, so he's a little bit different than other rurbels. How hard is this to understand? You idiot. You dummy, Jimbob. Use your mind a little bit. Use abstraction. Think about things a bit. Okay, here's this guy. Let's see here. Oh, I like this guy.
And the question over in my chat was what justifies it, and my answer is what causes the least harm is justification. Nothing's perfect. You can't save everybody. Emergency rooms know this, but what causes the least harm on others is always a great justification for morals.
Yeah, but I think it's deeper than that. There's like
that's just a basics, but yeah.
Right, that's something we come up with, but humans feel better about themselves when they're not being aggressive, not fighting, when they're taking care of each other. When you're huddling together to keep each other warm, keep each other safe or whatever. We just feel better about ourselves. We feel better about ourselves when we feed our children, when we protect them, and we extend that same love of children and then to basically love of our mates. And then we extend beyond that to love of our brothers and sisters, our cousins, our uncles and second cousins, on and on, our community, our nation, the world. Okay, it's just really easy to see why we do that. We have this thing built into us. There's actually a couple of neurotransmitters that are involved in this that make us want to be all huggy and whatever. So anyway, okay, the disconnect is that these guys don't understand the paradigmatic argument approach, metaphysics, epistemology, ethics. They approach ethics as subjective, and that is interconnected to their argument. No, I approach ethics as pretty much the nature of human beings. So anyway, I believe it's biological. I wouldn't call it subjective or objective. There's a gradient on that stuff. So that just confuses us. It's biological. It's built into our nature, the kind of animals we are. We're always going to be that way because we're apes. Sorry.
And there's objective morals in the chat. I can grant a mostly objective morals, but in almost every case you can find an exception. But generally, again, most cultures around the world agree to the same things. And, you can use the example, taking candy from a baby. The baby cries. Well, it's not nice to steal from the baby, right? So I don't think it's that hard to figure out why it's not good to do things that you don't like done to yourself.
Okay, fiddlesticks. I'd like to know, what are you thinking about while you're listening to us? I mean, how did you come up with this example? Two sisters engaging in lesbianicious behavior?
I think I saw that film.
I did too, yeah. Yeah, so what's the objective argument against that? I really don't give a shit what two sisters do. I don't know. I'm not sure if I have one. Yeah, here we go. What the fuck? What the hell is lesbianicious? Oh my goodness. What is this? Lesbianicious. We got a new word for ourselves. Watch
somebody clip that.
Do you have a link there? Theology and whatever the hell you are. Oh, let's see. Yeah, you have a wrench, JG. So you could give us a link to that. Jay Dyer and Isaac. Yeah, Jay Dyer is not a great thinker.
I made a basic assertion, Jimbob, and that's my justification. So, yeah, again, nothing is perfect, but we can try to do the best we can for everyone.
Bible is objectively bad. I agree. Objectively bad.
And the reason society frowns on close relatives having any kind of sex goes back to genetic mutations and the blue bloods of old. We pretty much figured out it's not a good idea. Even if you think it's a good idea, they figured out it messes up your genetics even long before they knew what genetics was. So again, that wasn't hard to figure out. So it just extends from that, and it's in everybody's mind because we figured out don't do that. So that's why we frown on close relatives doing such things. Doesn't matter their sex or gender or anything else. It's just a thing that's instilled in us.
Genetics, mostly.
Yeah. So.
But think about it. Two sisters, right, that are lesbians. Who cares? Who cares?
Ultimately, I know. But again, it just goes back to close relatives shouldn't do that thing because of genetics. Obviously, it doesn't apply if they're not exchanging genetic information, but
lesbians are going to get each other pregnant.
Right.
Okay, deliciously lesbian. I love that. That's what lesbian.
Yeah, the thing is, though, you're still going to look at it the same way. You know what I mean? It's in our mindset.
Yeah, we have all of these.
Your brothers and sisters are your brothers and sisters, So.
Yeah, we easily develop, basically our sense of smell is what it's all about. We find things that we find that we don't like the way they smell. And that all comes from basically the development of the olfactory system, which is probably responsible for most of the size of our brain. Humans got smart because somewhere along the line, something found it useful to smell things. Anyway. But, okay, I wanted to point out something else. Okay, we got abstract objects, right? So they want to keep saying that abstract objects and mathematics is immaterial, and physicalism can't explain.
Hey, Mike, I know you like to tolerate a lot of stuff there, but Jimbob is saying something about women to Maya, and he's crossing the line in the chat there.
Where did he do it? Oh, just recently?
Yeah.
I gotta.
Behave yourself, Jimbob. You know, you're just showing yourself for being, you know, what you are. And, you know, we already told you before, we're not going to tolerate it. So,
Where? I can't find it. How far? Oh God, what is happening with chat? My goodness.
1450 mark.
1450. Mine is. They don't even understand what Christian is. Okay. I'm at 1351. 1352.
Yeah, maybe you haven't showed up yet.
1450. Yeah, that would be weird. Okay. Oh shit! I didn't even notice. Made by Jimbob. Message deleted by the embassy. Okay.
Somebody took care of it. All right.
Yeah, took care of it.
No, I didn't. I didn't delete anything.
First one. Jimbob.
Yeah.
Yeah, my chat wasn't at the bottom, and we got a lot of chats going on.
Yeah. Well, you know, we're on here and we're fair game, Jimbob, but the people in the chat are friends of ours, and you know, that's just not cool. It's just showing you how small you are, and you know, and that's not cool, man. Nope. Go ahead, Mike.
This is just the kind of piece of shit he is. I mean, he is a real piece of shit. No, they like to get together and talk about rights and like women have rights because men let them have rights. No, you idiot. Men and women don't line up on one side of the fence. Basically every group of people out there has men and women in it. And if you're going to take away the rights of any of that group of people, you're definitely going to deal with both men and women.
He doesn't want women to vote, so
yeah, it really pisses them off. They can't get over it. When did it happen? Like 1920? I mean, my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh, and not only that, but you know, none of them are going to fucking vote for Trump this year. None of them, except for the ones that Trump is humping. They're the only ones that are going to vote for. Hey, Simon Fox here.
Hello, Simos. Good to see you.
Okay, what is ASD? Not acronyming that. Coming from a Neanderthal DNA. So I think I know the one you're talking about. So it's referring to somebody else. I missed it in chat. I'll try to keep up. Anyway, okay, I want to talk about this. So there are a lot of different philosophers have different ideas about abstracts, and we have basically conceptualism, I believe, which is that we just made it up. You know, that humans just made it all up. So you have conceptualism, and then nominalism is kind of like that a little bit, in that nominalism, basically we just found descriptions or names for things in nature, and that's what abstracts are. That it takes a human. So both of these things here would take, you know, some sort of an agent to figure out. And then basically realists about abstracts would basically be out here, because we absorb all those things. Because when a human conceives of something, or when a human names something, it's still just physical, right? So everything is physical or real. So the realist about abstracts is out there. But now the interesting thing is that this divides up, that there's two different things in realism, basically. There's a division, okay? And one of them is like Platonism, that these forms or, I think maybe Kant didn't really say this. I think people misunderstand that. But Platonism says that these abstracts or these forms are in an abstract, like they're in some other realm, like they're in some other dimension. So they're other dimensional. So they're in some other dimension, right? And but the strict realist will say that it's physical, that it's in the structure. So this would be physical, and it is in the structure of the physicality, basically, and that is its location in time and space. And this is my position, basically. I'm a realist about physical things because I'm kind of an ontic structuralist. Though there are parts of that I didn't care for. So anyway, but here's the thing: all these religious people, they're down here. God, I took the wrong thing. Sorry. Let's see. Okay, they're down here. They're realists about abstracts too. They believe these forms really exist, but they believe it's in God's mind. That God is the thing that made the forms, right? So they're kind of like, they're more like structural physicalists than they are like, say, Leo, who's a nominalist. He claims that they don't really exist at all. But for me, I want to explain that. Okay, matter, energy, space, time, all of that is one unified thing in the universe, right? It's a quantum field. It has little bumps in it, and these bumps and where the bumps are basically define all of reality, define everything. Does that make sense, guys? This little diagram with the different ways about dealing with abstract objects. Let me check something.
Hey, Speed, according to Johnny,
yeah,
the side chat says that he timed out Jimbob for 1.8 thousand seconds. Is there a way you can look at that in the YouTube Manager Studio thing?
I don't know. How many seconds?
It said 1.8K. I don't know how that's possible. But it was, I don't know what happened.
Scott Duke says,
I didn't know that existed.
Where did you see that he was timed out for that length of time?
If you go up the side chat a ways to approximately, well, it doesn't have a timestamp. Oh, yeah, 1:51 p.m. and 1:52. It says, made by Jimbob, was timed out by the amateur conversationalist for 1.8K seconds.
Is that a StreamYard thing, or are you looking at the actual YouTube?
You have to go to the YouTube, Mike.
Yeah, like the chat for the video, right?
Yeah, go to the thing and click on it. It'll show you, and you should have a right click on it or something.
Oh, let me see. Okay, pin message, put user.
YouTube.
Channel activity. Go to channel.
Side channel.
I don't know where it tells you in YouTube Studio. I don't know. It actually does. Okay. Where did you see that number? You don't have my YouTube Studio. Oh, Scott's back. I have no idea. Anyway, we'll check into it later. That sounds like a Scott must be having trouble again. Well, we're sorry, Jimbob. I don't really like timing people out. I would have given you just a warning, and but deleting your conversation is probably a good idea if you're being a jerk. Anyway, so Dave, are you with me, Dave?
Yes.
Okay. So you see what I'm saying about the Christians and how they too believe that abstract things, abstract forms, like kinds and things like that, are real. Okay.
Yeah.
And so do I. But they believe that it's in the mind of God.
Yep.
So that's basically the difference. And they don't
that's what I was talking about earlier, that I can grant all kind of things. Forget arguing about all these things, just grant them all. But what is the difference adding God to it? I don't see what the difference is. I don't see what adding God or a mind to the brain makes any difference in how the brain operates.
Well, it makes them feel good about being with their daddy. They like daddy to hug them, and they didn't really get enough approval from daddy. So this whole Christian belief thing gives them a new daddy who loves them more than old daddy. Old daddy was a drunk or whatever, he never came home. So it gives them a warmer feeling to talk about the universe as being created by something who's just like their daddy. And that's the thing you can't really talk them out of, because they would like go into full meltdown mode, right? If they didn't have daddy loving them anymore, right? Yeah. I mean, I think there's something to that. I'm being a little bit, unkind and facetious, but I think there is the idea that there's this God, Jesus is just up there, and he loves me, and he just loves everything I do, and he cares about me. He's going to take care of me, even if I die, even if I hit the wall in my Maserati at 90 miles an hour. I'm still going to fall into the warm embrace of my daddy. I mean, isn't that fucking ridiculous?
And I, I can grant these things. I can understand your beliefs. I can understand that you want to do these things in hopes of the ultimate eternal reward and everything else. That's all fine and well. Again, but you add this in. What does it do? I don't see what it does. I don't see what it changes. And we can use the mind to say, okay, the brain is basically taking in all the inputs, and then the mind is sorting it out into, our language, comprehension, our understanding of knowledge, our memories, everything else. But it's still going to be physical. It's the brain. We can dissect the brain. We can hook electrodes up to the brain. We can scan the brain. There's nothing else that's separate in any of that shows up as a separate thing called the mind. So, dissect the brain. Where's the mind, right? It's in the brain. It's the brain. It's physical. So what is adding the mind to do to it? It's just a linguistic thing. That's all it is.
Right. So, Rick Baker, so you used a bad example. Please use kill. It's easier. Okay, like there are basically killing other humans is part of human nature. Taking care of other humans is part of human nature. We have something that's a little harder to work out, right? We got a conflict, and we have this rational mind, basically where we decide things and we decide what's right, rationality, and we can plan our behavior, and we can will ourselves not to do something. Okay, that sort of thing. We can decide to kill or not to kill, and that is the rub of human nature, and that's what the Bible was really talking about. That eating the apple from the tree, basically, is that we have this additional thing where we can think about things, we cannot do things, right? Okay, so both of these things are part of human nature. So which one is going to win, right? Which one's going to win out? Well, it kind of depends on what you're doing. If you're at war, or if you're being threatened in your own home, you're obviously going to kill others, right? But are you going to feel good about it? No, because it is in our nature to abhor violence, because violence is a place where we can die, right?
And even our top military folks can have PTSD, even when that's your
Right.
career, so to speak, to do these things, it haunts them. My uncle was in Vietnam, and till the day he died, he had nightmares and stuff. It was a terrible thing, a terrible burden on somebody.
Yeah, my uncle Joe was in World War II, and he came back unable to work, and he was a shattered man. He was a really nice guy. He was real soft and gentle, but he couldn't function anymore because of it.
Yeah, even if you're defending a village of women and children and you absolutely had to do it and everybody would agree it was best to, take out the bad guy, it still haunts people. So.
Whose questions, fiddlesticks? Whose questions are we not answering?
I think the preference would have been, maybe thumb wrestle for it, right? I think anybody would choose that over having to pick up arms. So it's just it just escalates to a certain point. But yeah, deep down, I think even your special forces guys and everything else that are trained to do things would rather sit down and just thumb wrestle for it. You know what I mean? It would be a lot better. Yeah,
morality and ethics is it's an activity. So it's an act. Basically, it's alive in the world all the time. So, oh my God, where the hell am I going with that? Action. So it's an action, basically. So we're always like constantly, throughout our lives, we have all of these moral dilemmas, these choices, that just fall on every side of the line. And we're always self-correcting. But the thing is, like if you listen to Buddhists or you listen to Zen, they'll tell you that the best way to do this is without ego and to do it peacefully, to basically walk through the woods without disturbing any branches if you can. And that will make you the happiest. And what happy means is homeostasis. You're calmed down, you feel chill, you're just mellow, sort of thing. But if you get angry at somebody and you plan to hurt them or you plan to get back at them or whatever, you have a resentment, you start feeling bad about yourself, right? And you start feeling, you start getting away from that homeostasis, you start bouncing off that line.
And, Buddhists, the Buddha also said, though, a king needs an army to protect the innocent. So even with a pacifist attitude, there's always that social species instinct, right, to protect the quote women and children, right?
Okay, so
it's vital. It's vital, right? It's vital to the species. You got to protect the innocent. So
right. So Rick Baker has questions that I haven't dealt with. I guess them. Where are they? Who decides what's right? Ultimately, each of us do, Rick. I mean, how hard is that to understand? And it works really well. I mean, obviously, because I went to Sam's Club this morning and nobody tried to kill me. I did. There was a guy who wanted to kill me because I pulled forward into the second parking space and he was just about to back into it. He wanted to kill me, but he didn't. So ultimately, all of us decide what's right and what's wrong. And we get along fairly well. I mean, for the most part, you can go out there. Unlike Trump's claim, you can buy a loaf of bread without getting killed most days of the week. Like I've been buying,
and you don't need an ID either.
Yeah, 73 years. And, the only person that ever tried to kill me is my father. So I mean, I've walked out. Yeah, don't need an ID. Oh, let's see. So we have any other questions from Mr. Baker? So
yeah, I would say again that pretty much morals are very similar around the globe. We pretty much agreed, don't kill each other, don't steal from each other, because it's for the betterment of everybody.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a dynamic thing. And the thing is, there are going to be gray areas for every example you come up with. There's going to be a gray area. There's going to be a counterfactual. So you can do counterfactual mongering and you can come up with, oh, well, what about this? What about that? Well, yeah, every single instance that you run into in your life's like this big line. And it's just a series of basically decisions that you make. And some of them are really hard to make. There are some things that you just like, God, should I do this? Should I consider myself more than this other person, or what should I do? I mean, it isn't that hard to figure out. But humans have this huge brain. We have culture. We have all this stuff, and with all of that stuff, we still somehow magically get along. So some of us get to live into our 80s, 90s, and even hundreds without anybody killing us. So I don't understand what the problem is with morality.
And yeah, most people are good people. It's and again, there's problems in society, and we do the best again for everybody by addressing different situations. Some people have to be put in jail to protect others. Some people have to get serious mental health care. But these things are for the betterment of everybody. It's a social instinct. And again, nothing's perfect, though. It's not a perfect system, but that's the best we can do. And we hope that that we can cure some of these people that don't have these problems, or find out before anything happens. That would be even better. But technology and medicine and psychology hasn't gotten there yet. But there's always hope for these things. And prison reform would be a great thing. And more social programs, a hand up so people don't end up in the prison problems would be great too. And these are all things we can work for a little bit at a time, at the best we can at the time. And again, you go back in history and you're going to say, well, we did this, and that's the best they could do at that time. We can do a lot better now in our time.
Now, here's an interesting one that we have to think about. If more people are Christian than not, does that mean it's right to make all our laws align with that worldview? Well, most Christians want to have separation of church and state because they don't want the state killing people who have different beliefs than theirs. To be a good Christian, you would want that, right? So it's not likely that we're going to say we're going to become a theistic nation, like have Sharia law or something like that, which is what some Christian fundamentalists want. The reality is that only about 5 or 10% of Christians want there to be want to take the Bible and make law out of it, right? So there again, you have a group of people, very complicated situations, all deciding what is the right thing to do, what's the wrong thing to do. And as long as you have that one thing, which the humanitarians come up with, that, we want to maximize good, we want to do the best we can in each of our lives and be as peaceful as we can, then the whole thing will kind of add up to not taking the Bible and making a law that says you must not eat goat that's boiled in its mother's milk, which is one of the commandments, right? Or you must not wear mixed fibers. I mean, all of that stuff. If you became a theistic nation, all of that stuff in the Bible would end up filtering down into the legal system, right? I mean, so people were being killed for wearing certain fabrics, and put in prison.
Even the early church split because they couldn't agree. And it's been splitting into denominations ever since. So you are going to say, well, Christian rule. Well, which version, right?
There is one society which has outlawed and cast out societal opinion in favor of those things you don't like, and that society comes from. What does that mean? I'm not part of that. Can you parse that? It's not in line with the historical record. There's one.
I think for America, the idea isn't that we want to make it a Christian society. I think the idea is that laws need to be made in coordinate, in harmony with the Bill of Rights, that people have certain rights. And if you pass a law that favors one religion over another, well, that's respecting a religion, passing a law, to respect a religion, and that's unconstitutional. Of course, our courts haven't been so great in, fairly assessing that. Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they get it wrong. They've gotten it wrong mostly lately, to where that whole question has already been settled. And of course, Rick may not be an American, but we have a constitution that says, no, we don't pass laws to favor Christianity. We pass laws to support the basic rights we're granted, or that we grant ourselves, really.
And we're usually the first ones to support religions. One of the things was that I got a lot of flack for, after certain incidents happened about 20 some years ago, the Islamophobia and everything. And I was saying, hey, in this country, freedom of religion, right? Oh, you support Islam now and everything. It's like, as much as I support Christianity, yes, right? Yeah. They have the absolute right, exactly because I have the right to not follow them. So, yeah, we speak up not in support of what their ideals or anything, but the ideal of they have the right to hold theirs the same as I do.
Okay, I thought morality and ethics were based on a general consensus. No, we didn't say that. We said it was based on the structure of you as a human first, primary. Primary thing is your biology, okay? And then after that, we have all of this kicking it around and cultures and tribes and clubs and habits and religions and whatever. And we tend to kind of smear the lines a little bit, but you can always ultimately go back to the nature of humans as being gentle to each other and not wanting to confront each other or fight or be aggressive or whatever. And so the Bill of Rights does matter. Now then, a group of us got together as a club called the United States, and we created the Bill of Rights, and we created the separation of church and state. And yeah, it does matter, okay, because we all got together and we decided that. That's the current state of law.
And they were a lot more religious then than folks now. You can't say a lot of these people weren't religious. These were religious people making these ideals because, again, they wanted their freedom from the Church of England.
Yeah, there are countries that have, come up with egregious laws. And, it's horrible. Then who decides? Okay, who decides? Who decides? Well, we kind of get let me tell you how we have the Congress, right? And we have like the House of Representatives and the Senate. And, go take a civics class. That's who decides.
The idea, yeah, hopefully the idea is with the meshing of enough people, representative of enough people, that even though, yes, everybody's going to have personal biases and beliefs and everything, that you'll come to an agreement. Now, in the polarized environment now in politics, it's really hard to do. But the idea was always, even if you disagree on a lot of things, you have to at some point agree on something to get things done. And that usually works out slowly, yes, but it usually works out for a betterment for certain groups of people or the country or whatever on the whole to now the global environment. So, but again, it's not perfect and it's very slow. And a lot of people know they lived and died and generations have passed waiting for things that finally came. But we want to work towards the betterment of everybody and cause the least amount of harm. And there's no perfect answer to it, but if we do one thing and one thing and one thing, what is it? A journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step, right? So if our politicians are not going to agree on almost everything, agree on something, do something, and keep adding those steps. Ultimately, it'll be a better world for everybody. I'm going to use a word, logical. And I'm going to get a lot of flack for it from Jimbob, but it seems logical that all these little things we do will add up in the end. And it seems to be, as history shows, the world is getting better and better and better. Even with all the problems in the world is as bestest and bigliest as it's ever been right now. So we must be doing something right, even with all the problems.
Yeah. So we got another question here. It's like, they keep doing this stuff. Hypothetically, if enough people wanted to undo the Bill of Rights, would that be morally right?
Well, for one thing, the discourse about morality is outside the actual procedure to amend the Constitution.
Right.
So he's kind of
Politics.
fuzzying the boundaries there. Yeah, people hopefully will make laws that are morally right, but that's not always going to happen.
Yeah.
And
you guys people that feel it's morally right and people that don't.
It does require super majorities to change these things. Some people think that they can just change the Constitution with an executive order or something. It doesn't work that way. You need a super majority of everybody, including governors and everything else, to change these things. Again, the idea being that there would be enough mix of ideas that it would really have to be something like, giving women the right to vote and stuff, where enough people saw that this thing needs to be changed. You add these things in and everything. So it seems to work out, even though these people had, especially in the past, a lot of them had very sexist views about the things, but enough of the blend of the people decided, no, the best thing is to pass this and change the Bill of Rights, add an amendment, and why they're called and why we have amendments, because sometimes things need to be fixed or corrected or made just a little bit better.
Good comment, Scott.
And I don't see why we needed God to do that, because a lot of these things that we have passed seem to be opposite of what the Bible says, and surely opposite of what Jimbob believes. So the betterment for everybody with women's rights, children's rights, workers' rights, civil rights, on down the line, seems to be everything that Jimbob doesn't like.
Yep. I'm asking if the process was followed and the result was Christian ethics baked into our laws, would that result in me being morally right? I don't. He kind of misspelled it, or made a typo. But no,
that's too vague. And Christian ethics
it would be legal because you changed the Constitution, but it doesn't necessarily make you morally right. Who decides? Basically, a big group of people decides the morality, the morals of the land around you, and it's just a constant back and forth negotiation, conversation that changes the morality, of the culture. Would it be morally right? Maybe, maybe not. Society will come to a conclusion. There will be those who think it's objective law of the universe. Others will think, this is wrong, but I'll go along with it. And others will think, I'm going to fight to the death to correct this thing in our society. It's not always going to be 100%. It's a fuzzy world we live in, and a lot of Christians, a lot of Muslims, a lot of absolutists and fundamentalists are very uncomfortable with that. But I'm sorry, reality is.
And most people are good people, and it seems to be that they're in the majority, and there's always going to be a minority that are troublemakers in the world, and they tend to stir up a lot of other people. But mostly the people are good. And again, even when there's bad things are going on, again, soldiers in war doing honorable duty, they still feel bad. So I don't see why it's hard to figure out that somebody would just feel bad, because imagine that happening to you, imagine that happening to your family. Imagine some of the things going on right now in the world, where your whole world is just incinerated with a multi-million-dollar weapon.
Rick Baker, I think you're getting tired, and your sentences are being are becoming stupid. Not you. I'm just saying the sentences are. You're on the road here.
Wrong.
And you're saying something ridiculous.
I think ultimately the golden rule isn't hard to figure out, right? You don't like something, so you come to an understanding that somebody else doesn't like it too.
Stop it. Okay, so you're having a little. You're confusing cultures getting together and making laws with what a person considers morally right. So I mean, a law can be made. Like, okay, they made a law that they have to put the 10 Commandments in every classroom, right? And me personally, I think that's immoral. Okay, but you're confusing this idea that we can write morals down, that we can we can decide, okay, this is always morally wrong and this is always morally right, and we're going to write it down, right? That flies in the face of what I'm saying. I'm saying that based on the structure of humans, we have a tendency to all behave in a certain way with a certain amount of peace, right? But as we go through life, there are going to be all sorts of situations where we run into things, like we'll run into laws that we think are stinky. And then, of course, we go ahead and we, try to argue with other people and get a change. But I mean, you can't write morality down and have it be a living thing. It keeps operating on this timeline. Every one of us make moral decisions every single day, probably 100 times a day. We make some moral decision, right? Ultimately, it's based on our biology, right? And our biology has this overriding thing, this emotional system that keeps us peaceful, that keeps us obeying or living in a society together overall, even though sometimes we have the urge to kill. Sometimes we have these other urges you're talking about, right? We have this aggression that we use when we mate or whatever. Like, all of that stuff is conflicting. Basically, they would look like conflicting morality, but overall, there's this overriding emotional nature of man that makes us a social species, and we all get along. But as soon as you write it down, you start to make it very difficult to make these individual decisions, right? But there are some things we have to write down, like kill, the big things. We write down the big things, hurting others, that sort of thing, stealing from others. We write that down as a law, and that's okay. So we all obey that law. But then there's a lot of little things like lesbianicious or lesbialicious. We don't want to fucking have, we don't need laws about, like, okay, sodomy, right? And like in Minnesota, I think it was illegal to have fucking anal sex until 1980 something. When somebody saw the law in the books and they said, "Wait a minute," because it's nobody's fucking business, no skin off anybody's ass. Oh my god! Look, see what I did there. Anyway, so there are a lot of things in your Bible, like eating a goat that's boiled in its mother's milk. We don't want. Do you want to make a law out of that? Really? Do you?
That's why the Christian ethics, and it's like, yeah, what ethics? Again, are we going to agree that some of these things are agreed to by all religions and non-religious people? Yes. Are we going to agree to the death penalty for petty crimes, which 8 of the 10 commandments can carry a death sentence? Well, even Christian countries, like I wouldn't say Christian country, countries with a lot of Christians have decided that the death penalty is only for select crimes. It's not for everything. So when you're saying ethics, it's very vague, and if you're saying the 10 commandments, even that's very vague, because was it the first 4 of them or something, or just I'm God, worship me, right? So what ethics is that?
If it's based on biology, why are any urges wrong? Okay. Think about it. Okay. I have an urge to go and get some of those sloppy new Supreme Quarter Pounders from McDonald's right now. Okay. Do that. Because, I'm borderline diabetic and I'm on a, no carb diet. So, I mean, yeah. Okay. I have a lot of urges. Not everything in biology is going to be all one way. When I say it's based on biology, I'm saying that this is a fucking mess, right? It's a hot mess. Biology is a hot mess. And and that's why with our rational minds, we go through this and we decide in every moment what the right and the wrong course of action is to be. It's more complicated than that. You can't boil.
And if you've got two guys ready to scrap, they're probably going to scrap. If you've got a group around, the decision is made. Are they going to watch them scrap, or are they going to say, "Hey, come on, break it up. Let's all sit down, have a beer, and be friends again," right? So that's the devil and the angel on our shoulders all the time. And yes, sometimes you're going to have a fight. Sometimes, the group is going to say, "Hey, come on. Let's just, let's all be friends," right? And the fight is avoided. So the like mindset can go either way.
Yeah,
hopefully it goes one way.
Raccoons, they'll face off. Two different raccoons will face off, basically, and the raccoons will make noises at each other, and mostly one will back off. Almost always, they hardly ever fight. But when you have humans, the human has this thinky brain, right? And he has all these resentments, and he's got this holy script he wrote down, and he thinks he's right, and the other guy's wrong, and the other guy's evil, and he's just a bad person because he's an atheist or whatever. And they will fight more often than raccoons. So that's one of the things I think that the Bible was right about. There's sort of an original sin built into our reasoning. We tend to reason ourselves into stupid things. If we would just chill out and just feel what our emotions are telling us is right, we would find the right course of action more often, and men would back off the same as raccoons.
Well, how many of us have got mad at somebody in traffic, but we don't do anything? We just,
right.
We say stuff in our car that they don't hear, like, you idiot, you can't drive, right? They don't ever hear you or anything. But every once in a while, you got somebody that does the road rage and gets out of their car and rips somebody's windshield wipers off or something, right?
Yeah, shoot somebody.
But most of us don't, even though you have those thoughts, right? Even though those thoughts are there, boy, I'd like to just, whatever. Like, I hope that guy gets a flat or whatever you're thinking, right? But ultimately, though, we control ourselves, and little slip ups here and there. Sometimes you have a minor legal run in that you have to deal with in life, but generally, though, most of us, even when we are at our worst, will manage to go, dude, you just need to go sit down. Put on, with me, I put on some music, and when I'm just at that point, put on some music, and you bring yourself back down. And most of us don't act on these things, even though the thoughts are there that, whatever, you're just so angry about something. But we manage to get past it because we know in the end it's better. It's better for me, and it's better for everybody else.
Oh my goodness. Everything is.
And if that's supernatural, I'll grant it to you. It's a great thing. It's a great little supernatural thing that somebody stuck in our brain that with most of the time we can manage to control ourselves.
Gentlemen, I think I'm going to have to.
You got to demonstrate it.
Sorry to interrupt. I agree with you, Dave. I'm going to have to duck out. I have to prepare to watch a couple of rambunctious little boys this evening. So I got to get some stuff ready.
Have a good time.
All right. Talk to y'all later.
All right.
You just
Bye-bye.
shoot her in the head anyway. So I think I'll stop too, Dave, for now. Jimbob never came back. That's why, like when they mute me every time I get in their chat. That asshole
Yeah.
Charge mutes me, and when he mutes me, I shut the computer off and I go do something else. I mean, or I'll read a book or whatever. But that's why I don't really like timing people out. I prefer to warn them and try to reason with them, And if they persist, then you throw them out rather than time them out. And you just get rid of them. So.
I didn't do. I was just saying something to you that yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Maybe gave him another chance, but that's how he started trouble last time was attacking the ladies in the chat, and we don't need a repeat of that. So
yeah, maybe we don't need him around. So maybe it's a good thing.
Just trying to nip it in the bud this time before he got carried away because he was starting into his rhetoric, and keep that on your own channel. I mean, that's a bunch of garbage.
Anyway, okay, so I think we should.
All right, well, so I'm thinking about doing Saturday night at the Atheists again. I'm trying to get that going. So maybe in a couple of hours here, I'll probably be on, and I got a couple little videos to look at for just for fun. And yeah, if somebody wants to come on, I'll put a link out and everything. We can just goof around, have a good time for a little while before the prime timers start.
Okay, sounds good. Okay,
all right.
Gonna end. Let's see if I can find my mouse. Oh, there it is. Hi, mouse.
Hey, and thanks everybody for stopping through on both channels. A lot of folks stopped through. Appreciate everybody, even people that don't agree with us. Thanks for stopping by. For everybody that kept it civil and everything, appreciate it.
Yeah, and Rick, if you want to have a talk sometime, my email is in the very top of my YouTube channel. 2 of them. You can use my Mike Bruzenak email, and I'll be glad to have you on, and we can have a talk. And okay, so goodbye, cruel world. Are we ready?